Hi, my name is Luke Reeves-Rollins, and today I'll be analyzing the Venezuelan Bolivar black market crisis. In the case, we're presented with a situation in which Hugo Chavez, the Venezuelan president, has stirred the pot since his arrival in office. As a result of Chavez's conduct, the Venezuelan economy has suffered as the political climate is unstable. Santiago, a man from the capital city of Caracas, has long been the owner of a successful pharmaceutical distribution company. Right now, he finds himself strapped for cash and needs to find an alternative avenue to access dollars. The reason he isn't in such a bind to access dollars is because recently Chavez has imposed capital controls in an attempt to protect the country's currency in the economic downturn Venezuela now faces. This has caused turmoil for citizens within the country who are now having an incredibly tough time accessing foreign currency. To make matters worse, any citizens, such as Santiago in this case, who have spoken out against Chavez or expressed concern with his regime, are essentially banned from accessing dollars. So even loyal supporters of the Chavez government are having a tough time obtaining currency, as funds are scarce and being tightly held by the government. Economic activity in Venezuela has slowed down considerably, and the value of the bolivar is feeling the pressure as a result. Today I'll be analyzing the following three questions that pertain to the case. The first question that will be discussed is, why does a country like Venezuela impose capital controls? To begin answering this question, we must first understand what capital controls are. So capital controls are essentially any measure taken by a government, central bank, or other regulatory body to limit the flow of foreign capital in and out of the domestic economy. In this particular case, the economy in Venezuela has collapsed. As a result, the value of the domestic currency in Venezuela is in jeopardy and is constantly losing ground to the American dollar. The main functions of capital controls in this case is to stabilize the country's exchange rate against foreign currency, to slow down the devaluation of the currency, and also to retain domestic savings by discouraging people from investing in foreign countries. So by investing in foreign countries, the Venezuelan government perceives this as a negative because money is being spent outside of the country and therefore not stimulating growth within the domestic economy. The type of capital controls that have been imposed in this case can be classified as capital outflow controls. What this means is that the government is restricting the access of foreign assets from their domestic citizens. As previously stated, the Venezuelan economy is struggling. This type of capital control has likely been implemented with the hopes that the volatility of the exchange rate is minimized. What we can observe in the case, however, is that the value of the bolivar is indeed extremely volatile. So you would almost never see the currency of a well-established market, such as Canada or the US, fluctuate by 17% in such a short amount of time. Devaluation of currency of this magnitude is definitely a result of the rocky political climate and struggling economy in Venezuela. The second question that we must answer in the case of Venezuela is, what is the difference between the gray market and the black market? So by definition, a gray market is a market where goods and services are sold legally outside of recognized trade channels, however. So in this case, the largest telecommunications provider in Venezuela has provided a loophole of sorts for Venezuelans to access foreign currency. How it works in this particular case is that Venezuelans are able to purchase shares of CanTV, that's the telecommunications company, on the domestic stock market, and they're given the option to dollar-denominated American Depository Receipts, or ADRs, that are traded on the New York Stock Exchange. So basically, they're exchanging 7 shares in CanTV for one of these American Depository Receipts, or ADRs, that are on the New York Exchange. So while this provided a method to obtain foreign currency, it comes at a high price to investors as they're paying well above par value for the dollars. A black market, on the other hand, is a market in which goods and services are traded that is essentially under the radar of the government. So on a black market, no taxes are being paid to the government, and it is therefore illegal. In this case, a black market exists for American dollars, and the way this black market operates, for the most part, is through Venezuelan stockbrokers and bankers who hold offshore accounts that allowed for the access of American dollars. So if Santiago chose to use this method of accessing dollars, he would essentially deposit Venezuelan bolivars into his broker's account, and the brokers would subsequently grant him access to a dollar denominated account at a predetermined exchange rate. This rate is largely determined by the CanTV share price or the gray market share price. Uh, the issue with this type of financing, if you want to call it that, is that due to the illegal and unseen nature of the black market, there's not much legal recourse if the broker decided to rip off Santiago. So using black markets is an extremely risky way of obtaining dollars. However, the current climate in Venezuela has resulted in a large demand for foreign currency by any means available. So the third question that relates to the case asks us to create a financial analysis of Santiago's choices and to make a recommendation to solve his problem. Before even conducting the financial analysis on the various methods of accessing dollars, one observation that I made is regardless of how Santiago is going to come up with these funds, he's likely going to be paying well over the official exchange rate between the Bolivar and American dollar. This illustrates how the capital controls within Venezuela have made life so difficult on the citizens that are reliant on international trade. In Santiago's case, he needs to come up with $30,000 to pay for his current order. It has already been stated that $10,000 of this will come from the Khedive application, which is basically 1,920 bolivars to the dollar. So that's actually a pretty reasonable exchange rate there. He has two options to access the remaining 20,000. So the first option is through the gray market. The second option is via the black market. In the analysis, we will calculate which option is preferable. To start, the official exchange rate of the Venezuelan bolivar to the American dollar has just moved from 1,600 bolivars per dollar to 1,920 bolivars per dollar. So on the gray market, there are American depository receipts that are worth $18.40 of American currency, and they can be purchased for 7 shares of CanTV. CanTV is locally traded in Venezuela for 8,938 bolivars. From this, we can conclude that 1840 in American currency can be obtained for 62,566 bolivars. What we can gather from that is that the implied gray market exchange rate is 3,400 bolivars to 1 American dollar. This again illustrates just how difficult the economic conditions are for people who are relying on these international exchanges for their livelihoods. They're essentially paying 77% more than the regular exchange rate. So in essence, Santiago would be paying approximately $35,400 worth of bolivars for $20,000 hard currency if he were to access funds on the gray market. When we turn our attention to the black market, we find that the fees are generally around 20% higher than the implied gray market rate. Therefore, we can estimate that it'll cost around 4,080 bolivars to obtain 1 American dollar. Again, this further reiterates the point that the bolivar is being way overpriced when compared to the official exchange rate. If Santiago chose to turn to the black market, he'd likely be paying up to $42,480 to obtain that same $20,000 of hard currency. From the analysis of the two options, we can conclude that it is favorable to use the gray market to obtain currency when compared to the black market. Not only is it cheaper by about 20%, but it would spare Santiago from the undue risk of breaking the law Not to mention the gray market is fairly regulated when compared to the black market. Santiago wouldn't therefore be exposing himself to near as much risk due to the illegal and under the counter nature of a black market. There's not really any legal obligation for the stockbroker or banker to fulfill their end of the bargain. Obviously, that leaves you susceptible to scams and fraudulent practices. So, in conclusion, it's definitely going to be wise for Santiago to mitigate his risk by choosing to go through the more regulated gray market to access the remaining $20,000 in funds.